It's still the summer series, David.
It is. It's summer in Johnstown.
I'm Matt Cernell, back for the Tuck Shop podcast with another one of our great interviews from the past.
And I think summer in Johnstown just means the wind doesn't blow as hard.
Yeah, really. Geez, you never know. But hey, we're making progress. We're getting through here. I can't believe it's we're halfway through July, but
Yeah.
we're things are going good. You may still be able to get tickets. I can't quite remember the exact cutoff day, but the Pirates game is coming up.
And you can't scalp them anymore, can you?
Tickets?
Yeah, I think they're all electronic. I
I
think all events.
Oh yeah, I don't know if it doesn't mean you can't scalp them.
I don't know how you would. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't partake in such
Well,
activities.
good for you, David. I'm very happy that you're
I'd
not
rather
doing
make sure
criminal
that-
activities.
$12 million a year quarterbacks get their $12 million a year.
We never went back through that, but I don't even know if I want to touch the Steelers
Oh yeah, let's
at this
yeah.
point. But how many quarterbacks do we need?
One. You only need one.
If he's good.
Yeah, you get one that's good and one that that plays no matter what. One. You need
Okay.
one. Like in old days. Only one.
Jeez, oh man, I tell you what. But anyway, Pittsburgh Pirates night for us with the UPJ team is going to be fantastic. I'm real excited about it. Gives you an opportunity to come out, spend some time with us. And okay, just double checked. Since today is the 16th, you have till tomorrow at midnight.
All right.
So ticket deadline is July 17th at midnight, 11:59. So hit that link in the description. Come on out, spend some
Get
time
your
with us.
tickets.
It's going to be a pretty fun event.
It
Last year
always-
was great,
yeah, it's
and it really didn't it didn't matter who was winning or losing. We kind of had fun either way.
It never does. We do these events, similar events, I guess. We've done a couple with the wrestlers. Our wrestlers wrestle Oakland wrestlers. Our women's basketball play Panthers at the Pete. Same with men's basketball. It's interesting. Nobody will ever tell you the scores of those. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of alum getting together and just hanging out, telling stories, being with each other. Sure, there's game taking place. It's not the focus point though. The focus point is getting together and seeing people either you see on a more frequent basis, or people you haven't seen in quite some time.
Sure.
So that's, I think, more the focus of what it's all about, getting together. Which reminds me, if there's any way that somebody wants to get together, let us know. I mean, and we haven't mentioned this in a while, but 5 people want to come up and do a tour.
Yeah.
10 people want to just hang out. Whatever. Give us a call. We will arrange tours. We will arrange a get-together. We will arrange, depending on, I know we're getting through the summer. It's a little harder to get in buildings because there's a lot of prep work being done. But we'll make it happen. If you want to get down and smell the good old log cabin, we can get a key.
Yeah.
You want to go stand on the Adirondack shelter, we can do that.
The fun thing has been about the tour, you can't really figure out what people want to see.
Everything.
Effectively that's it. Because when you think about it, you have the I've had people who come back and it's like, okay, this is a group that wants to basically be like, okay, I want to see the places I was at. And I was here long enough ago that I don't care about Blackington Hall. I was in Krebs, I was in Biddle,
Sure.
I want to go through the library. I don't care about the new stuff. And there's people who are that same generation and be like, I remember those things. I want to walk through, but you know what? Oh, I've never been in the new building in Blackington, which is new to them, even though it's 30 years old. Or I've never been through the new wellness center, or the poll wasn't here when I was here.
Right.
Can I see the new stuff?
Right.
I would have loved to have this when I was here.
But they see that progress, and they get a smile on their face that, wow, look at all this is happening. Some of my favorite tours, if you will, are the ones that, and this is, believe me, this is not off the table. I get a call from somebody who says, I'm passing through.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated back in 1973. Haven't been there in 20 years. I get through Johnstown every so often. You got time. I always make time.
Yeah.
And it is just like to walk somebody through here that hadn't been back in a while or been in the area but haven't come back onto campus. Even, the 80s. I mean, you got to remember, there was a point where there was that building boom that started late 80s.
Yeah.
There was kind of like 73. They built a bunch of stuff. Nothing happened. And then, there was the townhouses in the 70s and smaller things. But then, mid 80s or late 80s.
Very late 80s
there
to
was
the
that
early
boom.
90s. It was Biddle. It was Blackington. It was the
It was
chapel.
aquatics,
It was the
yeah,
PPAC.
and all the
it was
renovations. Sure.
Yeah.
But I'm more than happy, and I'm sure Matt
Yes.
makes the time also. If you're just passing through and you're like, hey, I want to go and hang out. Those are some of my really, really good days at work when you get to hang out with an alum. Because you know what, Matt? The neat thing about those tours it's a two-way street. I can tell you what I know about the place, but then it never fails that the group tells you what they remember about the place.
It was fun. It was fun. Geez, it's been about 2 months now since the media folks came through. But it was fun on my tour sitting. They wanted to see some of the rooms in Humanities, and that big one was the band room.
The band room.
So we went in and we're sitting around, and it was an opportunity to chit chat, not about just that, but it was like, hey, is the alibi still there? Well, yeah, it's named something else. Oh, what did they name it that? Is there a petition to get the name changed or what? It's like, no, it's very cool. They helped. They did a whole bunch of cool stuff.
Sure.
It's still there, but it's, they did a whole bunch of modernizations and stuff. Oh, but it's not the same. What about, is Pappy's still there? Like, yeah, Pappy's is there. You can,
but Pappy's
we should go down for pizza.
Pappy's hasn't changed
Pappy's
since they built it. I mean, I think nothing has changed.
It's those
Pappy's.
little things. What was the connection? Like, we used to run over there. One of the things that surprised everybody, they're like, "There's no way that the mall's still." Yeah, the mall's there. It's new ownership. It's doing better.
Yeah.
Remember that Italian place? There's no way that's still open though. The Italian oven, it's still there. We can go for lunch. Like, oh my god, like, that was back in the '90s. Like it's those, like you said, it's those connections that people that kind of get freed up in their brain when they actually are in the physical space.
Yeah, but the interesting thing that I always find with the groups I take through, so we get down to when I was here, which is called ENS. Now it's nursing, science, chemical engineering. We get into that building, and I always make it a point to go into the auditorium.
Yeah.
Which for the longest time, till Blackington was built, I believe, it was the only auditorium. It was it.
Yeah.
It was the place.
That was it.
And it's funny because when it was first built, you had this, how can I say it, this post-apocalyptic feel to it. Where you went into it, it was all cement. It was kind of bunkerish.
You were in the bunker.
Yeah,
but it felt like you were underground, ready for
you would go in there and you would learn. You're here to learn. And but the interesting thing, everyone always says is, wow, when this was the only place, before they put the acoustic tiles in it, before they changed the seating, fixed made the lighting more palatable. It was you'd come here on for a class. Mm-hmm. And then you'd come here for mass, and then you'd come here for a movie, all within 3 days.
Yeah.
So you'd have a Friday class, and then you'd come for
Saturday movie.
Yeah, or no, masses were always like Sunday morning, and then Sunday night.
Yeah.
Programming board always had a first run movie. It's like $2 to get in or something. Maybe it was free with your ID, but it was the play, and it was this post-apocalyptic. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you're listening, it had this post-apocalyptic.
I remember what it looked like.
It was like something like it looked like a World War II bunker. You know what I mean?
And now with the remodel, it's just like this gorgeous.
It's like a fancy
facility. Yeah. I like taking people in there and just going down to the bottom and just like almost whispering.
Yeah, clicking the lights.
They can hear the whole the acoustics in that room now.
But it's
is fantastic.
It's a cool part that like everybody remembers, from that era, from like 1973 to when Blackington was built. When
94.
Yeah, it was late 90s, mid 90s.
Yeah.
So
I have construction pictures
for those
in my
years.
Corey
that
archives.
was it. But I always find that it was something that you would not think would invoke memories.
Yeah,
was an auditorium. But I always get people want to talk about whatever happened in that.
Sure.
In that auditorium.
It's such a neat thing. Yeah. And that the thing of that I think is interesting is that history. And that's why I'm real excited that today's interview is with George Hancock.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
George was kind enough to come in and talk to us for a while back, but I don't know if he considers it, but I kind of consider George our unofficial alumni historian.
Oh, yeah.
Providing facts and information and all kind of stuff that he's collected. He's done tours for campus history through different groups around campus. And he's a wealth of knowledge on these things.
The nice thing about George will always correct you if he needs to in a very nice way.
Yes.
And that's that storytelling.
It's very helpful.
But hey, it's very helpful. I mean, it's very welcome when, or he has just, he'll send in some Friday fun facts. And some of his Friday fun facts are, it could be a property line divider. What are those posts called? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, a property marker.
Property marker.
Yeah.
He can tell you why that property marker was there and what used to be there. And you can drive by it 100 times, never see it. And then when he tells you about it, you never unsee it.
Yep.
You look at it every time you go by.
And so a lot of the stuff that the history kind of stuff that comes up is David working and digging. And a lot of it, George has been very kind with his knowledge and including sitting down for this interview.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's cut over to George. Today's guest is George Hancock. George, it's great to see you again.
Yeah, good seeing you too, Matt.
God, you and I have known each other for
we go back to your
years?
undergrad days, probably.
Probably even before that. I hate to see me running around like that.
Yeah, very possible.
George, thanks for coming in. Like I said, you have the distinction of being a guest on our show here that is not only an alumni, but also has spent many, many years working on this campus. Let's start with the student side.
Okay.
Of it. What made you think UPJ, Pitt Johnstown as a student first?
Well, I was very fortunate. I'm a Bishop McCourt grad. Went through 8 years St. Benedict's, 4 years in McCourt. I was born and raised in this area. Neither of my parents were. I was very fortunate as I graduated because there was this new school, the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown, and we all called it UPJ, and we still call it UPJ. You got to think, I graduated in 1971. This place was only 3-4 years old. It was still a 2-year school when I enrolled here, and that's pretty much why I did. Expenses in those days weren't as bad as they are now, but I liked the idea of staying local. It came down to I was seriously considering IUP or UPJ. UPJ, of course, won out, and the reason for that might have been when I come up here for the interview with the director of admissions at that time, because I came from a very large family. I have 5 younger siblings, and I have an older half-sister, big family. I was eligible for, my grades were fairly decent. I was eligible for some scholarships based on, large family and all that. Yeah. So that was a little bit of a factor too, but I liked the idea of commuting. At that time, 71, this was basically a commuter school.
Sure. Because in 71, the effectively, the college had existed, asphalt campus downtown. This was Biddle Hall, Krebs Hall.
Everything.
They weren't even Biddle and Krebs yet.
Yeah. They were North and South Hall.
South. Yeah.
There was, I think there were 5 dorms at the time. I think the last 2 at the end there were opened up during my first year here. But that was a deciding factor. Great education. It's close. I could commute, and I'm going to be saving, for whatever happens down the road. Because in the background was of course, Mom and Dad talking. Dad did not want me to go to work for Bethlehem Steel or U.S. Steel or into the mines or anything like that, even though if I would have made a ton of money. Mm-hmm. It was the idea. He knew. He could see. My dad was a welder in Bethlehem. He come in. Him and my mother moved into the area in 1952. He had a good career with Bethlehem, but he knew he could see the signs were there. Something's going to happen. You want to prepare yourself. Get yourself in a position where you're going to go out into some other area, at another career, something you like. Okay.
Yeah. What did you end up studying when you came?
Well, basically, I got a BA in history, but I had the courses I took were like a well-rounded liberal arts education with a background in history. I had, today I guess you can call them minors. I had a minor in English literature, philosophy, political science, and a couple other different things. I mean, they didn't count as minors in that day, but I had the courses in that area.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much studying what I liked. I was not a big fan of natural sciences. Now, so working with my academic advisor, I took some of the new courses. There was one here, had to take credits in biology. They had a new course in environmental biology. And my advisor said, I talked to the instructors. There were two different instructors. You're going to like this. You go out into the back country. And I'm thinking, whoa, that sounds like a great idea. We had the nature trail just starting at that time. And we did. I took, it was like in the spring semester or so, there was more light. So you were able to go out into the back country and explore a lot of the things down over the hillsides and back in that way. That was a fun course. Learned a lot, and it might have piqued a little bit of interest back there because you could tell as the questions were going, the instructor could answer some of the things because we actually walked by some walls and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you see a wall out in the middle of the woods. What's that? It might have been the ruins of a farm, or a barn, or a house, or what. We're not too sure. Yeah, and that might have stayed up in there. It actually did.
Well, and that kind of, to take us to today, just to jump ahead a little bit, you are effectively, at least from the alumni side, the unofficial historian for us. And finding this sort of thing, that's what spurred on the information that if anyone's following along on the social media sees some of the research you've done with some of those great historical pictures, that was kind of the genesis of your interest in seeing these historic places that had been here prior to the campus forming.
Yeah, that's true.
So that was your kind of genesis of that.
In the mid-'80s, 1986 to be exact, I got into freelance writing, and I was writing for a couple running magazines, newspapers, and eventually got into writing for the local newspapers. And my whole interest in everything back that way, and I call it the backcountry, was due to my running. You come in off Schoolhouse Road, and there's a trail. I'd run it. Why is this trail here? I mean, you could tell it wasn't put in by the campus, and a couple other like old farm lanes and whatnot. And I started doing a little research of my own for some of the articles that I worked that into. It caught the attention of, you mentioned Bob Nipple and Jeannie Susko, who were with the outreach office at that time, community education and outreach. And they asked, Jeannie asked one time at lunch, do you think you could put a walking tour together? And I said, yes, I could. And it just blossomed from that point. I did walking tours on here in a couple different areas. We went to a couple different spots for well over 10 years. At one point, there was a waiting list to get on some of these walking tours because of taking people way back there, into the woods. They limited the number of people that go on a walk. There were a couple Saturdays I would do a walk in the morning, then one after lunch. Try to accommodate everybody. And then we got into the school term, and word got around, and I started doing it for student life.
Yeah.
Sherry Ray asked me a couple different times to do a couple walks, and probably the one I can remember the most was Halloween. Okay, student life in Oak Hall. The RAs all got together. They approached me. Would I like to do a walk on Halloween? Now I wasn't thinking right, and I said, "Oh, sure," but no. They wanted to do it at night. They got permission. They actually had campus police come with them. Now I live in the Mine 40 section of Scalp Level, so I'm over the hillside here. So basically, I told them what I'll do is I'll meet you. They wanted to go to the Baumgartner Cemetery,
okay,
a Halloween night. So we did that. But I said, instead of me coming to the campus and walking with you, I'm just going to come up from the other way. And they're, what other way? I said, I'm going to come from the Berwick Road, and I'm just going to walk up. Because it's real close to me. And so I'm there in the cemetery waiting for them. Of course, there's all the leaves are down, and you can see the campus police vehicle coming down the old trail, and you can hear all the noise. There must have been 30 or 40 students in this group, but that was a lot of fun. I talked about the cemetery, and of that group of students, and I even asked how many are juniors and seniors. 95% of them never knew about the cemetery back here, never were there before. And the ones who were there before were either into hiking, running, or walking. And they just happened to run up along the trail at the right time of the year, and they seen it. So that was a good time. Hot chocolate, cookies, and...
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Plus, campus police.
Sure.
That was a lot of fun doing that.
That's neat. That's a real cool part, and having seen parts of what you've done over my time has been really neat. So... came here as a student, eventually finished your degree. You're an alum.
Right.
What qualified you to be on the show. Not joking. But what did you do after you graduated?
Well, I had for a brief period, I had the idea with a degree in history. What are you going to do? You're going to go to grad school, or you're going to go out into the workforce? That was, X amount of years in education, 4 high school, 4 college. So I figured, not going to do grad school. We're going to do it. But I had, for a brief period, the thought that I would like to be a police officer. Okay. And I interviewed with a couple departments. It didn't pan out. We can't get into the reasons why. Nothing that I ever did wrong. But you have to understand what Cambria or Somerset County was like in those days. And that old saying, not what you know, it's who you know. I mean, that was really, really prevalent there. The different townships and the boroughs that I had interviewed with, they liked the idea that I had a degree local, that I was local, and I was willing to go to the police academy and whatnot. But while I was doing all that, I was working in for a private security firm, and I learned real quick this is not what I want to do. You basically, when you're in that kind of area, you're working a lot of like 3 to 11s, 11 to 7s, and very seldom did you work a daylight shift because, if there's going to be any kind of issue or trouble, it's going to be at night, and that's where they need you. So I learned real quick, this is not for me. And so I basically started looking around for something else, and I don't know, one of the few friends that I still had left that haven't left the area said, what, did you ever think about getting into retail? And I said, well, you can talk to people. You have the ability to carry on a conversation. You'd probably be pretty good with that. Well, I said, well, I never thought about that. So I started applying to a couple stores, and one of them I did was, Gloucester Brothers GB. I went to the Richland store, and I didn't know this at the time, but I talked to one of the store managers at the time. Even before I must have went out of the store faster. He was actually paging me because they were going to hire me on the spot. They wanted me to start the next day. So what he did is he called home, left a message, and when I finally got home, got the message, and I didn't start the next day, but I started. That was in early 1976, and I stayed there. Great job. I worked GB Department Store, GB Home Center, and the GB Auto Center. Then when they started closing some of those facilities down and went back into the department store, and I was there when they went out of business in '93, almost 2 decades. Picked up a wife along the way, had a son. Great time, great pay, great benefits. I like that. And it actually helped getting here because a lot of my customers at the auto center and in the department store worked here. So one of them was Mr. Tom Dupnock he was a manager of the bookstore. And he said, would you ever be interested in working for the campus? And I said, yeah, I do have an application on there. He said, well, update it. And as soon as I did, I got a call from him. He said he brought me in for an interview, and the rest is history. Got to spend 2.5 decades here.
Yeah, because you ended up in the bookstore for...
I started in the bookstore at the bottom of the library. That's where it was located at that time. When I first started talking to them, I had mentioned that, because I was still working for GB. They didn't go out of business till the end of August of '93, and they said, "Boy, I would hate to leave and lose out on the payout and all that." He said, "Well, we ran into some issues with the renovation. That was the idea why they were hiring new people. They were moving from the ground floor of the library to the newly renovated Student Union building, but this was long before COVID, and there were some supply chain issues at that time too. Carpeting wasn't coming in, fixtures weren't coming in, so it actually worked out. I mean, store closed. I was out of work for a little bit, but I wasn't out of work because I was up here doing a little bit of training and interviewing and whatnot. Then started.
And that's probably where no matter what generation, for that window, people may think, "Oh, I know the voice," or "I know the place." And you touched a lot of the alumni who would be listening to this,
right?
That they came when they saw you to get a sweatshirt or a T-shirt or the occasional book they may have bought. Probably told parents they got more books than they actually did buy. But so who was buying books and not.
Right.
I did buy books.
Actually,
but it that's where people may, if they haven't made that connection, they may not realize that they know you.
Right. They might not know the name, but they'll probably recognize the face. And it was done on purpose. Since I come from a retail background, they wanted me up front. Even in those days, in the early 90s, textbooks were taken off. They were getting very expensive. Everybody thought, that the bookstore was making a killing for the university, but it wasn't like that. I mean, we were up front. Don't buy the books early. Go to class first, and see, do you really need this textbook? I don't think my former boss would like me saying it like this, but he said, if you don't think you need the book, don't buy it. And the reason for that is returns were so difficult. And it wasn't the university, it was the publishers. I mean, they sold them to you or to the university or a bookstore. They didn't want to take them back.
Yeah.
The returns were very, very difficult. That would go against your next year's sales and everything like that. So you were better off just going to class, get an idea of what was going on. But that's what I did. I got trained how to deal. People would come in with their schedule, how to find the books and whatnot. At that time it was like the early forerunner of the PeopleSoft program. Everything was going online, and it excuse me, even though a lot of younger people are more high-tech than their elders, it was new, and some of the older students were having a rough time with it. So there was a couple of us, and we were trained. We know what to do. We know where to, we know what codes to look for, what numbers, and we showed them and gave them some pointers.
That's so neat, and there's so many students there that and alumni now that you helped get to that point, which is really, really amazing. So you spent a little bit of time in the basement of the library,
right,
and then moved over where the bookstore currently still exists,
right,
as it stands. Eventually, though, you ended your career at a different location.
That's correct.
And you were talking a little bit before that you kind of got a little bit of a tour with some folks.
Yeah, I let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I worked in 3 different locations of 4 different buildings: the library building, Student Union, Biddle Hall, and right here in Blackington. In the mid 2000s, 2006, 7, 8, 9, a new campus software program called PeopleSoft was coming online, and a lot of older employees were having a rough time with it. Some of us who were just a little bit younger and maybe we were a little bit more open-minded, learned it very well. I mean, in some cases, because we were being taught by the IT staff, and Pittsburgh people were coming in and whatnot, and I can remember one IT fellow saying to me, "Oh man, you got this down. You're moving." He was right. Within, probably within like 2-3 weeks, one of the campus administrators come had a talk with me, and he said, "Well, we're going to move you to the business office." At that time, the business office was doing all kind of different things, plus student accounts.
Sure.
And there had not been a male employee in there for some time, and that might have been a factor too. That plus the fact that I was able to transition from the bookstore to the business office, just had to learn their procedures and whatnot. And I believe I spent 4 years there. Started in Biddle Hall, and it got to the point where they were going to move all the main offices like that, whether it's financial aid. The admissions had already come into Blackington. They were renovating some spots.
That whole center section of Biddle was kind of like admin row.
Right.
It was financial aid, business office, registrar, all kind of. Because I remember kids lined up, waiting to get in to sign up for classes back in my day, standing out there. But that was all in that section.
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
So that's where the business office was.
And at the time, the campus was growing. They needed the classroom space. You had the beautiful Blackington Hall with these huge suites. Mm-hmm. The one we're in now was incredible. I mean, and of course, it got partitioned off a couple of different ways, but they did that. This whole top floor. And they did it down at the bottom, too, where we ended up. The business office was where it is located now next to purchasing and by the auditoriums. I believe I only worked in the Biddle Hall maybe 2 years, and then 2 years in here in Blackington. 2012, that was a defining year here. Financing payments from the state weren't where they should have been. So the campus, there were some rumors floating around that something big was happening, but they come through with a staff buyout. Mm-hmm. I think on the list was you had to be a certain age and have the amount of time in. I think on the list here in Johnstown, there was probably 35 or 40 people. I was the second youngest on the list. I knew from the time where I was reading it, boy, I would love to do this. But I had a son who was a student here in the engineering program. He said, even though that benefit was there, there's just no way I could do it. So I had to turn it down. Okay. I think it was close to 30 people did accept it. I mean, it was. People were leaving every which way, and they, the administration had no choice but to make some hard decisions and move some people around. I was selected to go to the registrar's office, and of the places I worked, the bookstore was probably the best place to work where you're talking with people and helping people. But probably what I really liked was the registrar's office. That was a great place to work.
Why? What made that stand out?
Well, when they put me in there, they said basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to be doing the work of the person was there before me, and basically that was creating the schedule. So I created the academic schedule across the year. Plus, I work with transfers. So I'm working with students. I'm working with the division people, and then I'm working with the division chairs. Creating the schedule, plus everybody else that had an input with it. Plus, you have all these students coming in, for transfers and whatnot. Now, the time I hit the registrar's office is when Pitt went to a online transcript request system. And every time you do something new like that, that creates issues because people just aren't aware of it. But it was a great program. I mean, it took a lot of work off of our shoulders. Yeah. Basically, you wanted a transcript, you just went into the system and you ordered them and you directed them where they went. So that helped a lot. But working with this schedule, that was a tremendous lot of fun. It kept me. I always had something to do. I never had downtime.
That's from somebody who teaches courses and looks at the schedule and kind of figures out like how I see a little tiny glimpse of it. Mm-hmm. To be able to see all of that and all those different pieces that fit together must have been really kind of a really cool experience to have. Well,
Pitt has a software program that basically you're taking your Johnstown data and you're feeding it into the program, but you got to coordinate all kind of things. At this time when I was at the register, there was different renovations going on different buildings, like the engineering building. I actually scheduled a engineering class in a broom closet because the numbers stayed the same, and that closet actually was a classroom at one time.
Yeah.
But it was changed around and whatnot. But the numbers stayed. I didn't know that. You know what? Those students went to that closet. And the professor's there. What are you doing? He said, "Well, we're this is where we are. And we're trying to figure out how we're all going to get in here."
Nice.
But it was a lot of fun. It was just a lot of fun doing that.
That's really neat. So you have that whole experience, and one of the neat things is, though, you've been still active even after leaving, both with your history and parts of campus, but also some of the other stuff. When you came in this morning, for example, you had both for myself and David a copy of your book.
Right.
And I've seen and known you long enough to know how much that you do and have enjoyed running. Why? As somebody who's very... I like driving places. what makes it special? Talk a little bit about your book.
Well, I actually talked a little bit about that in the book.
I didn't get a chance to read it in the last 45
that
minutes.
somebody that likes to run has to be, especially, and I started in 1973. I had just finished my sophomore year here. Every year, what a lot of the, I cannot remember any female students ever doing this, but every year, and it was before the end of the, in my days, it was the winter term, it's the spring term now. We would all go down into Johnstown to take the summer test for Bethlehem Steel. That was the summer job. I took that test every year for like 3 years. I always passed it, but I was never fortunate to get hired for summer employment.
Yeah.
So basically, I had all kind of part-time jobs in the area, and I made a decent amount of money cutting grass and cutting hedges. So basically, when I explained, I ran track in high school. I was a football player, so I had an athletic background. I had the time. Okay, between jobs and classes, and in my day, we did not have a spring break, so you were out of classes mid-April.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're working part-time. I'm not married. I don't have a family. What do you do? So I figured, one day I'm thinking, why not I get back into running? So I come up here to the old Richland track, old Richland cross-country course, and the local roads.
Yeah.
And I just started running again. I started, it was probably like April or May of 1973, and the rest is history. I adapted well to running on the roads. In 1976, I became a road racer, and I had a really good career. I ran into a couple little speed bumps down the road here about 4 or 5 years ago, and it had nothing to do with running. And it just, a lot of it, actually I had to go see a neurosurgeon in Pittsburgh. I had some broken discs, which a couple of MRIs revealed, and as the disc broke, the nerves were compressing.
Okay.
Now, there's a surgical technique that Dr. Joe from Allegheny General, he developed a technique for, he takes the pressure off the nerve and he moves some of that debris out, and you're fine. My issue was that I had like 5 of these spots, and a couple of them were the disc had compressed. But they weren't pinching on the nerve or whatnot. There were 3. I had 2 operated on, and there's one still bad. The most recent one was April of this year. I went through that. I'm still in the rehab process. So I had to stop racing. But they didn't want me to go through any kind of physical therapy or whatnot. They want me to keep running.
Yeah.
Right after the surgery, you walk for about a month, but then you start running. Your body will tell you whatnot. The one thing they did not want me to do is get back into that competitive road racing, because that might create a few other issues and whatnot.
Interesting.
So I stayed with it. I'm running right now. Again, I'm still in the rehab portion of this. I'm doing 25 miles a week, which for me in the past, it doesn't sound like a lot, but before when I was racing, I was only running 30 to 40 miles. So I'm close to where I was before. And I'm also 70, and I'm realizing I can't do what I did when I was, 30 and 40. It's just physically impossible. I can get close, but, I just had the right body type. I was short, lightweight, and I could run. I knew how to carry a pace.
Yeah.
That was the main thing. I knew how to pace myself. And people talk about that. You got to pace yourself. Well, in running, that is huge. That is huge.
Did that help as a concept through your career as well?
It actually did because, again, living in this area, working in retail, working up here, I run through all kind of different neighborhoods, and people recognized you. Yeah. And, people would come in when I worked in a bookstore. I know who you are. You're the guy that does all the running. So that's like, you get to talking and whatnot. Why did you come in today? Well, I'm looking for some, I'm a UPJ grad. I'm looking for some sweatshirts and whatnot, and wanted to see what you had. So you show them what you have available over there. Yeah. Or, in the times when I was in a business office, you help them that way, or especially in the registrar's office too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. We are alumni focused on this, but there's students who do listen. If you could tell a student something that you would want them to value, a piece of advice. If we, I often use the line here, if we left here today walking out and if someone asked you for a quick piece of advice, hey, what should I be doing? What would you tell a UPJ or Pitt Johnstown student right now to think about?
Well,
as you sit here today with that history.
As I'm taking in everything that's going on in the news today, we have a fantastic campus here. It's close by. You could live in Somerset. You could live in Evansburg. If you want to live on campus, the rooms are available. If you want to commute, you can do that. We got a great highway system. This is a great value for your money. I know people want to get away from home, but that comes with a cost. Here at UPJ, you're going to get a great education. You got a beautiful setting. You got a great faculty here, and you got staff. I know this personally from working with a lot of them. You got a staff that are willing to help. If you have any kind of questions, it's not like if you're at, you hate to use like Penn State or Harvard or some of the bigger schools, the mega schools. To get that kind of personal help is very difficult because they're overwhelmed. There's too many students for the amount of people that are helping. Even faculty members. You can't walk up to a faculty member at Harvard or Penn State and strike up a conversation. Well, here you can.
Yeah.
That's probably the best thing. We're small. You have that Pitt identification too. So it's just for your money, your time. This is a great value.
This might be a tricky one for you, as I want to leave you with one last question. If you had to pick one memory as a student or as an employee here, what would you say is something that one memory that is always going to stand out about campus, your time here? I don't want to say favorite because that's a hard. But when you think that, when you hear Pitt Johnstown, when you hear UPJ, what do you think?
That's a good question. It would probably have to come from my work time here because I spent more time working here than as a student. My first 2 years here, 71, 72, this was still a 2-year school. I got to see that transition. Oh, that was...
While you're thinking about, what was that transition like?
It was just incredible. It just, you heard the stories, you heard the rumors, that they were... The administrators and on the academic side, they were trying to do a couple different things and couldn't figure out. I believe it was my sophomore year here. They went from 3 credit courses to 4 credit courses, and we couldn't figure out why they did that. And it was actually an experiment that failed, I think, because my fall term and winter term, I was taking 4 courses. Now, you could have taken more, but each course was, 4 credits. So you're taking 16 credits. So if you were going to take 5 courses, you're at 20 credits. The workload did increase. And there was more quizzes, more exams, more papers and whatnot. It wasn't just like you only have 4 subjects and you can just float through some classes. No, you had to work. But it was interesting from the point was because everybody that started when I did in '71 knew that if you're going to continue at Pitt, you're going to have to eventually transfer to the main campus. Yeah. Some did at the end of their first year, depending on their program, and we started looking at the end of our sophomore year. But then, boom! Hey, this is going to be a 4-year campus, and right away the mindset's why spend that extra money? Why move to Pittsburgh? Now, a lot of my friends did do that.
Sure.
But more stayed. And that was just great. You could just watch that transition. They were hiring new faculty members. There were more courses being offered. And that's what caught my eye. You went from, X amount of courses to more in all kind of different areas. And that was just great. I had no regrets about doing that. Even though I lived at home, I have no bad feelings about missing the college experience because, I was here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't miss
I was
anything.
a commuter as well. So, I never felt... I never looked back and felt like I missed something by doing that. But everyone has a different kind of experience, and that's great. It's one of the, like you said, that's one of the neat things that's offered here, that you have that choice.
One of the things that it may be to your original question. The transition when you go from one area and I come back to work on campus, a lot of my professors were still here. Now you're in a situation where you're older. You had this guy. I'm going to use Bill Corey's name. I had him for several courses. Okay, and now first time, he actually come to meet me one time down at the bookstore because he heard that there were some new people who were hired and whatnot. Hi, Mr. Corey, how are you doing? Mr. Corey, is my dad here? And Dr. Verma. And there was a couple others in the philosophy department, a lot of people in natural sciences that I knew. There was still a few in social sciences I knew. You get into that situation, what do you do? Because, your first reaction is, hi, mister, hi, missus, and whatnot. And, of course, a lot of times they would say, well, no, you can call me by my first name. And whatnot, even though you're almost 40 at that time and whatnot too, that thought was still with you. You want to be a little deferential and respectful and whatnot.
I've never heard it summed up as good than the same way that I feel, having been on this campus for so long, from a very tiny child till now, and it's like there's people like I remember when they hired this person. It's like, oh my goodness. And now it's like, okay, I now sit in staff or faculty meetings with the same people. And it does have that little bit of a awkward feeling until you kind of get used to it and realize, oh no, it's good. And I think it goes to your point too, that how welcoming the campus is.
Right.
Because it's never, I've made it feel weird to me, not felt that way from anybody else. Bill, I could see making it a little awkward for you, but that's Bill. That was Corey being Corey. Because that's why he showed he liked you.
In another area, I know from my time down at the bookstore, we had a great group of student workers that we would bring in beginning of the term for the book rush and whatnot,
Sure.
help with different sales and whatnot, and you follow their career and whatnot. A lot of them, many of them, are working on campus right now in financial aid. There's a couple in admissions and whatnot. That was always neat, seeing them. That you go from graduating and then within a couple months or maybe a year later, they're back on campus working.
Nice.
Yeah, that was always nice. Yeah.
If people wanted to see some stuff, I know you still publish articles,
Right.
in both the Johnstown Tribune as well as you said the Somerset Magazine.
Yeah, the Somerset Magazine, which is part of the Daily American, right?
Is that a schedule, or should people just kind of keep an eye open for them?
With the Somerset Magazine, I am doing feature articles. Some of the other freelancers are doing monthly. So they may be writing something like for Thanksgiving or Christmas. I'm out interviewing people that they actually call them evergreen type of articles that they could actually publish them at any time.
Sure.
I mean, they're Somerset County personalities and whatnot. But it just fits in and whatnot. Where they have the space and the time to do that. I work for the weekly our town newspaper for maybe probably close to 3 years. That was a lot of fun. It was a weekly newspaper, again owned by the Daily American with a Cambria County focus. It was it just did not fit the future plans of the newspaper ownership, and so they ceased publication. And everybody that wrote for them was with Somerset Magazine now.
Yeah.
So,
neat.
Yeah,
That's
we
neat.
just transitioned over. Yeah.
So keep an eye on the Somerset Magazine for your articles, and then the Tribune doesn't. Is that a scheduled, or is it?
I do a monthly.
Is it monthly?
What do they call it? I'm a. They have a term for it. A community columnist. There's like 3 or 4 of us that do that. Basically, it's once a month. It's basically I try to have mine in the first of the month because I try to do like a review of the news in the month before. Now, it's a little bit different. I'm not talking politics. I may touch on politics or whatnot, but I'm actually writing from the perspective of what I see as I'm running along the road. That I don't want to say that's my gimmick, but that's pretty much my gimmick. Yeah, what I see and whatnot. You see a lot of things out there.
I remember reading yours from this month was you talked about the running perspective of the Reachland Project,
right,
and tying that into the running trails to give that as an opportunity for folks. Very interesting perspective from somebody who looks at it from a running perspective was something that I had never thought about with that project.
Yeah. Well, the one thing. And it goes back a couple months ago. I had mentioned to somebody about the old trail that went from. It actually went through the Richland property to Eisenhower Boulevard and to the old Richland Mall, and the campus personnel and Richland School District personnel took turns cutting that with their tractors. I mean, it was as wide as 2 tractors. It was a well-worn path. A lot of people didn't know. Of course, they were either, of course they're gone. But there's probably a lot of alumni that did do that. They hiked even in the dark,
Headed down
and
that way.
through the wintertime. Yeah, you want to go to the Richland Mall. They didn't go out Schoolhouse Road and down Theater Drive. They walked right across the old field.
Yeah.
I mean, because it was well cut, well maintained. I don't know of any. I can't remember any kind of issues or anybody ever getting hurt or mugged or anything along those lines. The only thing I can remember one time, not thinking, I come off Eisenhower and I was actually parked at the old junior high building, and I didn't want to go out into the traffic because it was like around Christmas time. So even though it was dark, I ran up the trail. I mean, I had the lights of the campus ahead of me, so I knew where I was going. What I wasn't able to see is the 3 or 4 people walking ahead of me until I was like 10 yards. I get excuse the language. I scared the crap out of them. I apologized, but I said, I'm just, cut running from here to there and whatnot. But, it's just one of those things. But
That's hysterically funny. George, thank you for coming in and spending some time with us here today.
I enjoyed it.
The Tuck Shop podcast is recorded live on the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown campus. Update your contact information with us by visiting johnstown.pitt.edu/alumni. Connect with us online via Facebook and LinkedIn, or consider donating to the university at giveto.pitt.edu/giveupj.
This has been a production of Quantum Wave Media. Views expressed do not necessarily reflect the opinion of the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown.